What makes you think you deserve it?
When you've been working since you were 13, promise mom by everything. Burn so often, fire talking, scars so dark they fill your dreams. Nightmares to the young and clean. Life will wait for some it seems. Pray for days when heaven stays, but you ain't put no work in for the crown. You ain't put no work in for the crown.
Long this phone lasts is at 32%. This is
And we are live.
Welcome
everybody to the Unplugging podcast.
My name is
Chris.
I'm here
behind
the
camera and the computers, pressing the buttons, making sure the stream goes live.
This is the
host
Leo.
And we're here to answer your questions. And I see we have a lot of answers already.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Again, you've seen me already from the intro video that we made about a week ago and such. Yes, my name is Leo. And just to kind of give you a nice, more brief introduction of who I am and such, I didn't really get too much on that from the intro video. I kind of just wanted to give you a little brief on what at least the podcast was going to consist of. But me, yes, so I'm a real estate agent. I'm into fitness. I'm a fitness enthusiast. I've been working out for 20 years now at this point, age 32. Hey, Rodney, good seeing you, my man. Oh, I sent you that last second link. Look at that. You were able to pull on through. And Mr. Lawrence, you're the first one. Oh my goodness. So we can record you in history. You are now the first one ever in the Unplugging podcast in history. Look at that. Excellent. And we're streaming as well, guys. Okay, we're streaming on 3 platforms right now. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, and IG. Okay, we would appreciate you guys, the ones who are watching now on IG, if you guys can check us out on Rumble. We definitely would love that. Let me see who I got here. All right. Live loud, my man. I haven't seen you in forever. Oh my goodness. I hope all has been well. My goodness. No, I work with you. Definitely. I hope the fitness industry is treating you well, my man. Absolutely. Auntie Gracia, I appreciate you being on. Oh my goodness. I see we got the family. We got the family love in here. And Jessica, cousin Jessica, yeah, with the fire emojis and the biceps. You know, you gotta flex the guns. You know what I mean? You gotta do that. Excellent. Oh my goodness. No, I appreciate that. And oh my God, Tito, my man Tito, let's go. Shout outs from the Dominican Republic. My goodness. We're going live, guys. We're going live. Compa the Don. Oh, my man. I hope you're doing good. I remember I saw you back in Miami. I think it was Miami that one time. Hope you're doing well, my man. Hope you're doing well. We're just getting the stream started and such. This is an exciting time. It's an exciting time. We're definitely here to really tackle some real world issues, man. Now, I know from the intro, those who have actually watched the intro, okay, from some time ago, a week ago, I would say, we're gonna tackle some real stuff here, okay? We're gonna talk about relationships. It's mainly relationships, okay? Mainly relationships between the inner dynamics, okay? More on psychology, a little bit more on the physiology, biology too, and just hardwiring. You know, we need to understand that. We definitely need to understand that. I think it's Papo, what's going on, my man? I appreciate you joining. My God, look at that. For I'm kind, of course, my man. For I'm kind, sup. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you joining, my man. Absolutely. Much love, guys. Much love. Thank you so much for really taking the time out of your days to really join us. This episode, we're not gonna go long-winded with our episodes, okay? I'm only gonna do this for about maybe 40 minutes to an hour. You know, I know you guys are busy and you probably have some other things to do and such, but the fact that you guys are willing to take up at least 40 minutes to an hour of your time to come check us out, that means a lot. Okay, that really means a lot. So let's get to it. Let's definitely get to it. For those who've just joined the channel, okay, if you guys have any questions about anything, please, I'm going to give you guys the floor for about 30 seconds here to see if anybody wants to ask a question and such. Again, this podcast is mainly going to be about talking about relationships, how to improve on them. Politics are going to be included to a certain degree as well, the government. We're all around. We try to be all around. We're going to talk about how to make money, how to get into certain professions, what you should be doing. We're going to talk about male masculinity and female femininity, ideas and prescriptions on how to approach the dating market. We're going to go over some stats a little bit regarding how dating is right now. And I think you guys are going to probably be somewhat flabbergasted of the results you're going to hear. It might be extremely shocking to you, and maybe to others not so shocking. It might be like, that figures, you know. But okay, so no questions for now. That's cool. But again, shout out to all you guys for joining. Thank you. So let's get started here. So Ideally, from what the title is, okay, for those who are on Instagram, I know you guys are watching us now on Rumble and YouTube and things like that. As the title mentions, what are we up against, okay? So, not to be vague here, there's no ambiguity here, all right? It's straight up just what is going on right now, okay? So, kind of just jumping straight into it, what's going on right now in the dating scene, okay? This is something, thank you, my man, Rodney. I'm proud. I'm proud of the support you're giving us, my man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm very active with the chat, guys. You're definitely going to see me looking at the chats and really being interactive with you guys, all right? So, but I definitely don't want to drag this on too much either, but I'll definitely respond to you guys when I have the chance to, okay? I want to make sure that no one is getting ignored here, okay? So what are we up against? We're up against a dating scene in which has completely been dismantled. Completely dismantled. And what does that mean? We could talk about this all night long, to be honest with you, but of course we're not. Dating has gone down, okay? The rates of unhappiness in both men and women have gone up. If we look at the statistics right now, women right now, when they're depressed, because we're going to talk about depression a lot, they're about 71% while male is 61%, so we're not too far off. Marriages are down, birth rates are down, fertility is down. A lot of people are just kind of submitting to the online culture as well when it comes to social media. So, let's see here. OnlyFans? Okay, OnlyFans and dating apps is what's going on. Of course, absolutely. And you know, that's the thing though. Like, you would think that when we have so much power and so much access to all these dating apps, the conveniences, we have all this convenience in the dating market. But yeah, look where we are right now. Look where we are. It's you know, I'm gonna give you guys some ratios here. I'll tell you right now, with all this technology, here I'm gonna blow your minds a little bit here. 1 in 3 men today, at this very moment, are either still virgins or have not had intimacy with a woman in a year.
I think that's what, 30 or younger or something? Males 30 or younger?
Something like that, but it's one of those things where that's how bad it is, and we're talking about the young bloods too. We're talking about basically everybody, right? But just going into it, like off that stat, that ratio, that's terrible. And if we're talking about what Compa's saying right now with the dating apps and such, even if you do, and this is we're looking at a man's lens right now. Okay, let's talk about what's going on the men's side. Okay. I hate to be single. Yeah, if you're single this day and age, bro, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're in for a rough ride, a very rough ride. But we're gonna talk about some solutions in a bit. I kind of just want to give off a few stats here, and then of course we talk about the stats and then talk about some more pragmatics here and propensities. And Baby B, thanks for joining. All right, haven't seen you in a good while. Hope all is well. Thanks for taking the time to come on and join the chat. And we're having a discussion here, and these are hard topics that a lot of individuals don't want to talk about. But we have to talk about this. We definitely have to talk about that. So either 1 in 3 men either are still virgins or haven't had sex in over a year and such. But let me give you another statistic. When we're talking about OnlyFans and I think it's OkCupid, they have all their statistics. When someone, if you're gonna go on a date with a woman now, and this is again talking from a man, that woman, according to data right now, and this is just a general, okay, of course this isn't everybody, okay, one thing I want to mention to everybody is when I speak statistics and when I just talk about maybe even my own thoughts on certain things, understand it's in general, okay, it is in general. That means it's not everybody, it means it's a majority. Okay, that means we're talking about 50% or more. Okay, that's considered a majority. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, because again, I'm not here to insult anybody. I'm not here to hurt anyone's feelings. All I'm giving you guys, and my business partner Chris, of course, is we're giving you a database. We're giving you a database of information so that way you guys can use it and help you guys out. But even if you go on a date with a woman, and this is again coming, Hunter, my man, thanks for joining. Even if you go on a date with a woman now as a man, the expectation of her flaking on you is 50 to 76%. I'm going to say that again. The flake rate of a woman flaking on a man in today's day and age is between 50 and 76%. That's scary to me. That's really scary to me. And of course, this is what you guys are mentioning with the OnlyFans and, whoa, Hunter, what's up, my man? Of course, again, appreciate you joining. That's wild to me. So what does this tell men? What this tells men is that we really have to move accordingly in the sexual marketplace, okay? You have to assume that as a man, when you're going out on a date with a woman, she's talking to maybe 5 or 6 other guys, okay? Maybe less, maybe, who knows? But you cannot assume that she's single. She's talking to other guys. She's probably entertaining other men. So as a man, you have to rewire yourself a little bit and your belief system, okay? You have to understand that when you're going into the dating marketplace, it's that girl who comes on in is not gonna be open arms for you just like that. You cannot expect that. That is you as a man. You have to understand that going into the marketplace with caution, okay? If you go in kind of blindsiding yourself, and yes, you are blindsiding yourself because you're not making yourself aware of all this information, you're not understanding how to tackle the dating scene. What this is called, what women like to do, and this is what women have been doing forever. It's not something that just happened recently. This has been happening for forever, for years. What's been happening is it's a term called spinning plates, okay? Women like to have options, okay? And that's great. That's totally great. I'm happy that women have options, and they should have options because they're beautiful. Women are amazing. Women are beautiful individuals in this world. They bring value into this world, okay? That's one thing I think men have to understand as well. And what you men have to understand as well, okay, is that there is such thing as hypergamy, all right? Women are hypergamous. And all that simply means is they want to have the best deal. They want to have the guy, not a guy, the guy, all right? So they have a huge checklist. You go on a date with a woman, okay, she is going to have somewhat reasonably high expectations of you, okay? Somewhat high. Sometimes too high, you know, and that's because social media has exacerbated women's thought process, okay, and to a degree, men's too, okay. It's the same thing when men watch pornography, okay. They have unrealistic and develop unrealistic expectations on how intimacy works with women, okay, because you gotta understand they're professionals, so they're trained to perform for a long time. And for us, if we're just now getting with a woman and such, now we have this idea, this stigma in our heads where the intimacy is going to be kind of like that, okay? The intimacy experiences are different. It's going to depend on the pheromones of the woman and the man, of course. It's going to depend on how much she likes you, how much she's aroused by you, how much aroused you are by her. There's a lot of variables that play into that, okay? But back to the whole hypergamy thing. Sebas Baller, thanks for joining, my man. Oh, I appreciate the support. My man. I'll see you at the gym. I'll definitely see you at the gym. So when you're going in, okay, I always tell men, there's gonna come a time where you have to really build yourself, okay? If you're gonna enter the dating marketplace thinking that women are just going to like you because you just happen to be somewhat attractive physically, okay? It takes way more than that, okay? Way more than that. It's not, it wasn't like that back in the day where you give a woman flowers, you open the car door for her, and you know, you might pull off a little bit there, you know what I mean? You're gonna be a little chivalrous with situations like that. Really quick guys, my phone unfortunately is about to die here, okay? So if you guys wanna tune into us on YouTube and Rumble. Yeah, that would be great. I still have some battery life, so I mean, stick around for that, but we'd love for you guys to kind of multi-stream here so that way you guys don't lose what we're about to talk about here. So, you gotta understand that women want what's best. They're gonna think mostly about what's best for them, which is fine because this is a security thing. It's a security measurement for them because it's going to be incumbent of them to make sure they find somebody who is going to provide, give security, protect them in time of need, give them great children, okay? Smell good, give masculine energy, lead. You know, these are things that women expect from men. What I don't like, and this might be a bit of a hot take, and I hope I don't piss anybody off here, but the truth, you know, here comes the objective stuff here, the objective fact I want to say. When you hear some advice, okay, you got to be a little careful with the advice you take, okay? The advice sometimes women will give, and again, this is just the advice and objective stuff that we see. you gotta be a little careful with some advice that you take from some girls, okay? Not all girls, okay? I do think there are some girls out there who they give real advice, but only if they have real masculine figures in their life. Only. But if we're talking about girls who will say, oh, well, if you're going out with a girl, just be yourself, or if she likes you, she likes you, or just make sure you look at her, things like that. That's not what goes on in their minds like that, okay? Because, well, Chris wants to say that, they give the worst advice, because you have to understand, when women give advice, okay, it's advice they would give themselves, okay, and to their friends, okay, and to their friends. So you could say it's plausible and feasible to a certain degree, okay? Women can afford to just be themselves. Women can afford to, if the guy likes you, he likes you. It's the vibe. That's what it comes down to, the vibe, right? I think that's the language we've kind of developed nowadays, the vibe. If it's there, it's there. But mediocrity, okay, is not accepted by men. A man can't just go in and then have a date with a woman and say, okay, look, well, here I am, okay, here I am, I work, I dress okay, I don't go to the gym, I play video games all day, I'm not making money, I can't protect you in time of need, I'm just gonna be myself. That is impractical advice, okay? Impractical advice. Because at the end of the day, when most women say that, just be yourself, it's easier for them to weed out the losers. It's easier for them. Let's see, Alex, my man, thanks for joining. Albert, all right, excellent, all right. Geraldine, all right, thanks for joining. Oh my goodness, haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well. I know we saw each other at the wedding and such for Dylan, but I hope you're well. And thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed the stream and such. Questions, guys, ask questions. So, back to what I was saying. It's impractical, okay? It's impractical for us to just be ourselves, because at the end of the day, when we're going in and we're presenting ourselves with some value, we're expected to have high value. Those values, those traits that I just mentioned, that's what women want. But women don't want to be truthful about that. And I think that's not great, because the thing is that men and women like to lie a lot to each other when it comes to dating. Not all, of course, but it gets to a point where if I'm going on a date with a girl and if I ask her what she's into with a man, which you shouldn't be, okay? Men, do not ask that question, because women want you to just get it, okay? Just like us men, we want them to just get it. They expect equivocal treatment when it comes to that, okay? They expect us to know what gets them. They expect us to know, oh wow, this arouses me. I'm gonna be attracted to this, you know what I mean? But for you to kind of question that, in her mind, if a question like that is asked, she's going to wonder, he probably doesn't get it. He probably doesn't get it because he's asking me, okay? And the other thing is, if you do happen to ask that question, more often than not, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to. They'll just say stuff like, oh, well, I like when a guy has pets. I like when he's into zodiac signs. I like when he watches rom-coms and Sex in the City and he's into his feminine side, things like that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If I were to pair two guys together, okay, guy A and guy B, okay, and let's say I meet up with a girl and I ask her this question, which I find notorious, okay? She's gonna tell me something like, well, I want him to be funny. I want him to smile. He has to have nice hair. I kind of want him to be built. Okay, fine, great, you know? Nothing wrong there. But if I were to pair two guys together, and both of them have those same equivocal traits, guy A just has the mentions, the aforementioned things that I talked about. But then we have guy B who is also having the same traits, except he can provide. He gives security. He can give you a home. He is masculine. He has a networking system. He has influencing power. Maybe he's famous. What do you think the woman is going to choose? Who do you think she's going to choose? She's going to pick the one who has higher value. Done deal. There's no debate. There's no discussion there. Absolutely not. Daniel, thanks for joining, my man. All right. And we got another one here. Yulam Denise. All right, thank you. I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly, but we appreciate you joining. Thank you so much. Ask questions, guys. I'm here. I'm just going off on what we're talking about and such. We're talking about, again, what is currently happening in the sexual market, okay? We're going over issues and what to expect, okay? So again, women are going to choose their best option. It's not a bug. It is a feature, okay? Understand it is a feature women have. And they are right to have that. I applaud women who stand strong with what they want 100% when it comes to men. I stand strong with them, and I respect women who are also not afraid to say that, okay? Because what I think women need to start doing, I want you guys to, my prescription is be more honest with guys. I know that I've talked to some acquaintances, some female acquaintances who I talk to at work, or as a friend group, a networking group, and a lot of them tell me this. I say, why don't you be more honest with the guy? And a lot of the times they'll just say, well, it's not worth it. I don't want to hurt his feelings. I say, screw that. Hurt his feelings. Tell him the truth. Because at the end of the day, if you're wondering, and this is now talking to women now, if you're scared about hurting the guy, listen, as men, the burden of performance is on us, okay? We are the ones who have to go out, conquering, thriving, building the infrastructure, making money, making a name for ourselves, being able to give back to the country, to give back to the world. If we're going to world wars, like, we're expected to do that. If we're with a woman and someone robs the house, we're expected to protect her and the house and the family. We have high burden of performance on our shoulders already. Basically, in English, the world challenges us already, and we're constantly being knocked down and brought back up, okay? Whether it's us who brings ourselves back up, or friends and family members who do. So, ladies, please stop being afraid of telling the truth to men, okay? It's just, we can take it. I'm gonna tell you right now, listen, a true masculine man who truly understands his value, even though he might not maybe have too much value, he's gonna show his true masculine identity by understanding that the world, by nature, by itself, is already against him, okay? We're not expecting for plot armor. We're not expecting for, like, we're in this Disney movie and then everything is just gonna work out for us. Men don't think like that, okay? And if there are men who think like that, which I'm sure there are, okay, hopefully a minority, these are the guys who are not very masculine, okay? And Lawrence with the comment, men communicate better when conversation is more direct. Absolutely, absolutely. And kind of touching up on that with the comment here, okay? With men, now kind of switching back to men, okay? You guys have to be willing to have hard conversations, not just with women, okay? But, like, even internalizing it with yourself. Talking in the mirror, all right, telling yourself something, or with your parents or your male best friends, or just male friends in general, or coworkers, or anybody who's kind of in the grind with you, okay? People who truly understand you. You have to have hard conversations. And back to the ladies now. Ladies, men have to be willing to have hard conversations with you, and you have to be willing to have those conversations when the man is stepping up to have those conversations. Because we're turned off by a lot of things, but when we see our significant other, our girlfriend, our wife, fiance, when we see that they're really avoiding certain conversations, especially if they're going to be uncomfortable, that's not a good sign for us. It's not, because you want us to be pragmatic. You want us to be problem solvers. You want us to dominate in the world and then make sure that we're taking care of you guys. We need to be able to talk to you guys about how we're going to grow and how we're going to build the infrastructure, not only with society, but just with a relationship, okay? And speaking about, like, the conversations and such, okay? The question I'm asked most of the time, okay, is when you're going on to a date, okay, and then you date a few times, and then you vet, okay? Vetting is extremely important. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. When a woman comes up to you and asks you the golden question, what is that golden question? The golden question is, Ryan, oh man, look at you, my man, thanks for joining. My God, you guys are on fire today. Spending that hour with us, again, we truly appreciate you guys. But when a woman comes up to you, and let's say you have successfully vetted her, okay? The vetting process, idealistically, if we're being perfectly honest, 6 months to a year. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, what? That's a long time, man. There's a reason for that. The reason for vetting, I know I was going to bring this up later, but I'll just touch up on this really quick. The reason for vetting is pretty self-explanatory. Vetting, you need to be able to see the red flags with your potential fiance or wife or husband or things like that, girlfriend even. If you want to treat her as an LTR, a long-term relationship person, you have to go through that process of vetting, okay? But let's say, again, we're skipping this part for the time. What is vetting? Okay, all right, so you guys want to know what it is? Okay. So vetting, all it is you're taking the time to really inspect and dive down into who this person is, who you're getting to know, and to see if they are a potential mate for you, a soulmate, a partner in crime, marriage material, someone who you can have a courtship with. That's vetting, okay? And like I mentioned before, you're trying to find out red flags from that person, okay? The mistake men make most of the time is when they're vetting somebody, they don't listen to their gut feeling, okay? Men, I'm gonna say this to men. Men usually do not listen to their gut intuition, okay? You have to listen to that. I made this mistake also, okay? I made the mistake as well where I feel something and I just kind of ignore it because it's like, oh, big deal, right? It's not a big deal. No, okay? If anyone here understands evolutionary psychology, which that's going to be a separate video, but just kind of nitpicking a little bit on certain things in which I want to share gems with you guys, of course. We have survival instinct and we have those intuitional instincts, okay? It's a reflex. It's that leg jerk that happens, okay? So the moment when Neanderthals and Homo sapiens and things like that, whenever we were going through that evolution and such, when there's a threat, okay, you don't even have to think about it. The body reacts, your sympathetic nervous system reacts in a very specific way, okay? It's flight or fight, okay? Fight or flight, that's what it is, okay? Do not ignore that, okay? You are hearing it from me right now. Do not ignore the body's natural response to a threat, okay? This goes with relationships as well. The moment you see, I'm talking to gentlemen first, the moment you see a behavior pattern that does not suit you well while you're in the vetting process, mark it as a red flag. Mark it as a red flag, okay? Now, I'm not saying completely dismiss the woman at that point, because it could just be one, okay? And it depends on the severity of the red flag as well, okay? If it's something you feel she can behave out of, or you can mold her out of that behavior if she's gonna be in your frame, obviously, you know, you can pin that on the notepad and say, okay, red flag number 1. And only until you start getting a plethora of red flags, that's when you gotta start saying, okay, look, this woman is either going to be fun time only, or she's going to be someone who I'm gonna take serious, okay? Women like to place men in categories too, okay? But men do the same exact thing, okay? But back to the vetting process. So if a woman comes up to me, or you, okay, and says, hey, look, I like you, I like the vibe, I think we're cool, we've hung out for about 6 or 7 months and such, I know we've kissed, we've done a bunch of stuff together, I don't know if you're seeing anybody, I like to be exclusive to you, I don't want to share you with anybody, where do we stand? It's basically where do we stand, okay? Gentlemen, remember this. You are the gatekeeper to relationships, okay? Giving relationships, giving the ring, giving marriage, giving the last name, giving resources, giving the time, giving your hard work and labor and everything coming into fruition to support the woman. You are giving all of that to the woman. Understand that what you are giving her, okay, is extremely valuable. We are the gatekeepers to that. Women are the gatekeepers to sex, okay? And of course, we're gonna dive down into that much deeper when it comes to just personal responsibility, okay? Personal responsibility and just taking accountability for anything, because accountability is definitely something that we have to talk about for sure. Are we gonna talk about that maybe today? We'll see. But we're there. And then now it comes to the point where it's like, okay, the ball's in your court, gentlemen. Look at the red flags. Look at all the red flags now, okay? Let's say hypothetically, okay, I'm gonna make two scenarios for you. You have one scenario where this girl, you really like her, and you see, let's just say no red flags. Let's just hypothetically say no red flag. Maybe I'll make 3 scenarios. No red flags. Then of course you say, look, I like you, I think we're great. Yeah, let's take it to the next level. Then it shouldn't be, a debate right there. You don't see any issues with her, so by all means, in a perfect world, that doesn't really happen anymore. Now let's talk about scenario number 2. Scenario number 2, you come in and you see that one red flag is she likes to go clubbing a lot. Red flag number 2, she has a lot of guy friends. Number 3, maybe she's a feminist. You feel this feministic energy coming out of her.
Dominant woman.
Okay, like this dominant woman thinking that she has to have an opinion about everything, and she's argumentative with you, and she feels like she's a bit of a headache to you sometimes, but you've already had that intimacy with her. You think the sex is great, but you still have this little itch of hope with her that things are going to work out. Okay, fine, great. But that is up to you now as the man. You are still the gatekeeper at this point. Let's say you do want a relationship with this woman. What women like to talk about a lot is, well, there needs to be compromise. This is the compromise. This is what the compromise looks like when the man is giving the relationship to the woman, okay? You see the red flags. You see it all. She's the one who wants the relationship because she's asking you where we stand. You are the one now who decides who gets the relationship. Just like how she decided who has sex with her. Now it's your turn to have your share of power. Okay? So you say, okay, look, I like you, but I just can't take a woman serious who goes out clubbing periodically throughout the week, who has a bunch of guy friends. You post provocative pictures online, things like that, right? Those are very serious red flags, by the way. And you just drew the line in the sand. The line in the sand has been completely drawn, okay? Now, in order for her to be in your frame, okay, to understand, in order for me to have a relationship with this guy, I have to accept that I can't really go clubbing, I can't have guy friends, I can't this and that. But understand the guy's not telling her, forcing her, okay, that she can't do these things. Notice how I said, I prefer if a woman does not do all these things. I didn't say, you can't go clubbing, you can't have guy friends, you can't any of that, okay? That's not what I stated. There's a difference between an I statement and a you statement. So when I stated, I prefer, it is a choice for her. It is a choice for her to let go of bad habits, let go of bad behavior, and then mold herself to be the woman the man wants her to be, so that way the man can take her seriously. Okay? Those are the requirements. Those are the prerequisites. You as the man, you have to draw that line in the sand to ensure that if she's going to be your girlfriend, she has to stop bad behavior. Because if you decide to let her compromise with you now, okay, here's what it looks like. Scenario C, or scenario number 3. You're getting into this compromising thing with her. So you tell her just what I said. I prefer a woman, I just can't take a woman serious who goes clubbing, posts provocative pictures online, has guy friends. Okay, there. You've laid down your laws there, you've laid down everything in order for her to be in your frame. Got it, cool, great. Now if she starts giving you pushback, as in, well, what's the big deal with me going clubbing? What's the big deal with me having guy friends? I don't have a lot of guy friends. Yeah, they text me and call me every now and then, and yeah, I might hang out with them here and there, but I don't see the issue with that. What's wrong with me posting provocative photos? I don't post a lot. Yeah, I have a bunch of guys messaging me, but I don't message them back, as far as you know. As far as you know, at least.
don't trust that shit at all.
As far as you know, so that pushback, okay, she's trying to lower your standards, drop your rules, change the way you are as a man. Sorry, my phone's about to die here. 10% on my phone, guys. Okay, 10%. Be sure to
YouTube.
roll over to YouTube, guys. Roll to YouTube and good old Rumble Dumble here. Okay, so now what she's trying to do again, she's trying to lower your standards. She's basically trying to mold you into a different man than who she fell for the first time. Does that make sense? Okay? Because when she started talking to you, when she fell for you, when she was aroused by you, and you were doing your thing, you were the guy who she was head over heels for, you were her best option. What women don't realize what they're doing when they are trying to compromise with a man like that, changing the way he is, changing his standards, changing his rules, is that now that man is effectively becoming the man who she didn't really fall for the first time. I hope that's making sense for you guys. So now what's happening is that it is the man who's entering the woman's frame, okay? And a lot of relationships, a plethora, a disproportionate amount of relationships fail because it is the man who enters the woman's frame, okay? And what do I mean by frame, okay? The frame is, if a woman enters the man's frame, she's basically entered your lifestyle, what you do. She supports you with your mission. She does what you do. She listens to you. She's submissive with you. She trusts you to lead the relationship. That is a woman who's truly in the man's frame. But when it is the other way around, what men typically tend to do when it's the men going into the frame of the woman is that he pedestalizes her. He pedestalizes her, gives her too much attention, says yes to her all the time. She's taking on somewhat masculine roles now at this point. Now she's leading. She's making all the decisions for the most part. The man is being feminized, and he's basically being betatized as well. Now, some men go through a level of betatization. All of them do, even myself, to a certain degree, okay? It's how much of it are you willing to tolerate, and how much are you willing to push back on that as well, okay? Because at the end of the day, like, when it comes to relationships, women are always going to look for a way to give themselves this influx of the colors of the rainbow when it comes to relationships, okay? Women like to feel all the colors of the rainbow. This is a thing I like to say all the time. They want to feel a bunch of emotions. My advice, another gem for you guys, do not spend so much time with women, okay? Do not. In fact, there are even some studies, or a study that I found, when men spend too much time with women, or let's say they just live with them in general. I know this is probably going to ruffle some feathers here, but again, guys, it's not me. It's research. It's whatever is publicized with surveys and people who are doing the research who are saying this. Men's testosterone levels tend to drop 21% when they're living with women versus the ones who are not living with them, okay? There isn't too much on the married aspect, but when it comes to...
I think it's the same. You get married,
You think it's... Okay, so it's probably the same. Okay, alright, so you see... So men have to be scarce. You guys have to be a little scarce with the time you spend with women, okay? Do not spend all the time with her. And I know this is going to be different when it comes to married couples, or if we have situationships where if it's a man and a woman, maybe they just don't have a place to stay and they're relying on each other's jobs to pay for like a room they're renting out of. It's a situationship on that one and such. So it's very situational. But men, gentlemen, if you have the leisure, okay, do not spend as much time with them, okay? Because the one thing that women love from men is mystery. Okay, they love men who are mysterious, and they love feeling different emotions. A woman, okay, remember what I said earlier today, women want the man, not a man, meaning they're not looking for a man and then a multitude of men to feel different emotions with, okay? She wants to feel all of that with one guy. one guy, if a woman feels like she has to compartmentalize her emotions with different men, there's something wrong with her. There's definitely something wrong there, okay? And you could probably point out that there's something wrong with the relationship in and out of itself. Great. But it is the man's fault. I am going to say that it is the man's fault. Just like when a woman cheats on a man, it is your fault as the man, okay? Why is it your fault? Okay, you're wondering, well, how is it my fault when the woman just did this and that? She has her autonomy. She has full agency to just do whatever she wants. And you're right about that, absolutely. But you have to understand, women are emotional. They're very neurotic, and they go off by how they feel on certain things. That's why when you see girls who they love to go clubbing and they like to go out places and travel, they like to be in the scene a lot. They like to have all these spikes of serotonin and oxytocin levels spiking through their brain chemistry. They love it. They can't get enough of it. They get that through experiences. Women want experience, okay? They always want that. But they want experience from the man, not a man. Again, if they want it from multiple men, something is going on there. That's not right. Because at the end of the day, if we're looking back at nomadic times or even before feminism started, and we can talk about that even tonight or something else, idealistically, when we're talking about theology or ecclesiastical approaches, women who are very traditional and they still live with their fathers and they have actual feminine values and they have father figures that tell them, we want you to be with the man, we don't want you sleeping around. They're a little strict, like they don't let them go out and basically hoe around, okay? The fathers don't want, I'm not a father of kids, but if I had a girl, you best believe I'm gonna protect her. When a baby is born, okay? When a baby is born, yeah, Tang, it's interesting. If you have any questions, please engage with us. We love for you guys to engage with us. And Jill, thanks for joining us. Thanks again for definitely joining us, guys. We love you guys. Appreciate the support. Back to what I was saying here. So you're going off so many different variables there and such. Chris, what was I just talking about? I know I was just talking about Lawrence and the father figures. Yeah.
Right.
But let's talk about this one here. So important thing to remember is we have no control over other people. People will do or think whatever they want. We only have control of ourselves and our actions. Absolutely. As I mentioned, they have full autonomy and they have full agencies to do whatever they want. But there's influence. Influence, okay, makes people decide certain things as well, okay? When people in general, just human beings, this isn't even just gender specific. When people are influenced in a certain way, their decisions are going to be based off the influence. So what I was just talking about when it comes to father figures, if you understand the statistics also, here's another gem for you guys. When we're dealing with nuclear families, okay, which is, both mother and father in two-parent households, okay, they have the highest succession rate when it comes to raising children and forming morals, values, virtues for their children. They have a higher success rate when it comes to that. Even with today's modern technology, it still happens more often than you think. But it only happens if there are nuclear families around. Nowadays, we have more single-family households, okay? That's a big problem. We have now way more single-family households that are women-dominant, okay? And if you look at the statistics, and again, this isn't me trying to bash on anybody, okay, this is just statistics, this is what's out there right now, and we have to go off by what the stats are, what the laws are. Well, not really laws. The laws sometimes are made basically from leftist approaches, but we can talk about that again a whole nother day or maybe even tonight. We have to start deciding and making moves based on what is objective fact, not by how we feel, okay? So if we have statistics right now stating single-family households that are just mothers, if you look at the statistics, boys, if they're in jail, okay, a lot of boys, it's a higher rate of degeneracy, basically. When children are raised in single female households, single mother households, there is a higher grade of degeneracy, okay? 76% of men, of boys even, okay, who are in jail right now to this very moment, and this is recent research and statistics, and women too, they will tell you it's because there wasn't a father in their lives. 76% of them who are in jail say it's because there is no father figure, or it's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons. But one of them for sure is because there is no masculine figure telling them and disciplining them what is right or wrong. So that's a big component that I want men to understand. And this is for you guys as well who are trying to be fathers, okay? If you don't plan on having children with a woman, do not have unsafe sex. Let's just put it that way, plain and simple, okay? I get it. I get that when it comes to the contraceptives and other forms of contraceptives, we have so many of them when it comes to birth control now, like Plan Bs. I get it, okay? But it's not worth it, okay? It is totally not worth it. Because if something happens, you as a man, okay, another thing to understand is you don't have reproductive rights. It is the woman who has reproductive rights. She decides if she's going to be a mother, and guess what? She decides if you're going to be a father. You have little to no say in that. And do we have fathers trying to fight for custody of the children? Absolutely. There are fathers who spend thousands of dollars fighting for custody over their kids, only to get absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Ask yourselves questions like that, guys. Like, if you're gonna get married at least in a state where it's not so treacherous and so hard on men when it comes to divorcing and things like that. If there's equal custody, fine. But there are even some other countries where the laws aren't so harsh on men when it comes to marriage and divorces and things like that. So I highly advise you, if you're gonna marry a woman, okay, and it's in Florida, especially since we're in a no-fault state, okay, follow up, speak to somebody who you know who's a divorce attorney or a marriage lawyer, anything like that, and tell them what are the laws here in this state in which either favor the woman or favor me. Like, how is it? Is it equal? What is it? And the lawyer will tell you, and you would be surprised of the things you hear. You will be very surprised of the things you hear the lawyers, anybody who's in law firm or just understands any of that stuff will tell you. And I guarantee you will change your mind. You will change your mind about a lot of things, okay? But anyway, kind of coming back to the father figure and such, yeah, it's a higher rate of degeneracy. There's a little saying, father figures keep men out of jail and father figures keep women off stripping poles. Let that sink in for just a moment there. That is how important father figures are, okay? And I'm just gonna say, okay, when we have single mothers, and first of all, okay, I have nothing against single mothers, okay? You guys, you're doing all that you can. You're doing absolutely all that you can to, of course, raise a child by yourself, okay? I get that. I totally get that. But what we have to also understand here is I don't want anybody being delusional about this. Again, I'm not going by how I feel about certain things. I'm going off by objective fact. I just told you the statistics of the degeneracy in which is for both boys and girls when they grow up in no-father households, okay? You do whatever you want with that information. I'm not here to tell you, okay, well, this is a statistic, so therefore you have to do it this way. You have to. All I'm gonna tell you is, here it is, you do whatever you want at the very end of the day. Let's see here. Question. Should you enter into a marriage with the divorce term in mind? Wouldn't that leave room in the back of your mind for divorce to be on the table when relationships hits a hard time? Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. Like, you have to vet the person properly. That's the thing. Because what a plethora of people, what they tend not to do is they get antsy. They get very, very antsy when it comes to relationships. We have a lot of guys here, simps. Oh man, that's the first time I said it here on this podcast now. I didn't even think I was gonna say it, simps.
Oh boy.
We have a lot of guys who, you have to understand, there are guys who don't have a lot of value in this world, okay? They don't wanna build value, they're very lazy, and the very first woman who just happens to just touch them on their chest or touch their chin or rub their neck, something that gets their hormones going, those guys, they commit like that, okay? That's what happens. They commit very, very fast. And there are girls who are like that also, where they might see potential with the guy, which is fine. They might see some potential with the guy, but the women who really are antsy, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers here, but the ones who are really antsy, on the women's side, are the older ones, the ones who are past 30 years old, going into 40, things like that, because they're on a clock. They're on a clock, that's the thing. So men and women, of course, is something to talk about. Women peak when it comes to beauty between the ages of 20 and 24. Okay, that's when they're at their most beautiful. It doesn't get any better than that. That's as good as it gets from there on out, okay? Yes, I get there's surgery, I get there's facials and facelifts, and yes, I get that, all right? But most of the time, men aren't even attracted to that. I'm not attracted to that, to be honest with you. Like if I kiss a woman's lips, that feels like there was like some balloon injector and someone's like pumping, and then it's like I just whiplash back because I'm kissing a girl on the lips and I just blow back on that. It's like, whoa, that doesn't feel good to me. You know what I mean? Same thing with the BBLs and same thing with the breast jobs and things like that. I think this is going to be an opinion of mine. I'm not attracted to things like that. I'm not. I think some men aren't either. But to each his own. To each his own. And on top of that, when you do surgery like that, you're injecting like toxins into your body as well. Like that stuff's generally not that great for your body anyway, you know. So you're degrading the process for your body even more. But Tang, back to your point, because that's an excellent question. Okay, I want you to know that's an excellent question. I appreciate you asking that. But to keep going with the answer, I know it's probably a long answer that I'm giving to you. They peak, and when women start to hit 28 to 32. That's when fertility rates start to really drop, okay? And what some delusional women, not all, again in general, okay, what some women do when they're in their 30s or 40s, they go around prancing about like, oh, I can have babies whenever I want. I'm gonna wait until I become a CEO or I own businesses or I wanna travel the world on my own. I wanna sleep around, blah, 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 you know, do your thing. And then you have these bad propensities of other female friends saying, yeah, you go, girl, you do your thing. Go ahead, sleep around. Yeah, don't have kids now, things like that. It's terrible advice, might I add. These are the ones who life kind of hits them in the face at some point, and some people call it the second wall. The first wall would be when they're starting to realize like, oh, well, I'm on a clock. Then the second wall is when they're accepting it, when they're pretty much accepting that.
Aging actually
You said something? What's up?
No, I'm just reading.
Yeah, so they hit that wall. The second time is when they actually come to a realization. So now women become more bold at that age, from a little over 30 to 40, and it becomes very situational for them. Men, you have to understand that in general, women don't end up with their first choice in a man. Oh, my phone died. Okay, so guys, if you're already on Rumble and YouTube, by all means. So that's dead there, no problem. So I'm happy for you guys sticking around here. So when women are older, they become bolder. That's a good one. Older, bolder. So
that's true.
And you see, that's the thing, because they understand that their value is dropping. Okay, they're not as beautiful, they're not as fertile, and they have experience. Okay, when a man looks at a woman, okay, and she's in her 30s. And let's say he's a high value man. Maybe he's like an average value man and he's growing in the world and he's trying to take a little bit, he's trying to take himself somewhat serious and such. These are the ones who men tend to avoid most of the time. Now for sex and for intimacy, if they look good enough, then yeah, the men will go into them. That's totally fine. But you have to understand that women are born in this world with value. Men are not. Men have to build value. So that's why whenever men go on dates with girls, women put all these high standards and high expectations on them. And what Chris was saying before, kind of like, they're a little too high, things like that. I get that. And again, that's because of the exacerbation of social media and all these modern day technological conveniences, right? That's what it boils down to. So that's something to take into account of. Another comment here, women embrace aging actually, women who embraces aging actually ages very gracefully, but women who refuse to age but wants to stay forever young actually has the reverse effect. Well, you see, here's the thing. That might be considered off an anecdote or maybe some personal experience, which is good. It's fine, you know. It's I think what a lot of people tend to do, and this isn't on you, okay, Tang, and I appreciate the conversation and such, is we have to stop being delusional about our standards and our wants. When a woman is in her early 20s, going into 24, 25, and she's at her peak and things like that, she has higher value and higher negotiation power. Now, to some women, when some women hear this, they internalize and say, well, what do you mean I lose value? What do you mean that I can't get a guy this and that? Hear me out on this. It doesn't matter if you feel that it should. What matters is what is. That's the difference. So, because let's put myself in shoes like that of people who are a little like that, right? I can say, I'm 32 years old, and I still don't have a job. I still play video games all day long. I'm at home all day, and I'm saying to you and some other friends and parents, I can get any girl I want. Is that delusional, or is that like an objective thing? Am I objectively wrong for saying to myself that I have nothing to give to a woman, no value, no protection, no provision, no assets, no future? I have no future because my future becomes her future. Women judge men by their futures. Men judge women by their past. That's another thing to consider. So she sees my future. I go on a date and a girl sees my future, and I tell her, I can get any girl I want. She's gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Same thing with a woman who is getting ran through by a bunch of guys, who goes out partying all day long, says to me that she wants to wait until she's 40 or in mid-30s to have kids or get married, and says that she's still valuable. I myself, including a good amount of men, I would say, we're gonna tell you, not even tell you, which I argue we should, we're gonna say, yeah, that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna marry you and have kids with you. That is objectiveness right there. That is objective fact. Like, there's a survey, okay? There's a survey and some statistics on this as well. There's a survey where they grabbed men from the ages of, I think, 18 to 70, I think, somewhere around there. And the survey was asking questions about, okay, what is the ideal age you would like to have a woman at? So there are ages between 18, 24, going into 30, going into 40, 50, and so on. And an overwhelmingly, yet not surprising amount chose women between 18 and 24. Men have a natural proclivity to want younger women. That's just the way it is. That's not me. I didn't make the rule. I didn't say that. This is an objective fact based on statistics and surveys. And just, how is it? You know what I mean? Let me see here. Do you feel like a person's value is solely based on their ability to attract the opposite sex, or is their value based on something more of a substance? Well, see, here's the thing. There's something I read not too long ago, actually. It was a study made by David Buss. It's a book I'm reading right now on evolutionary psychology. Great book. A bit wordy, but it's a great book. And a friend of mine told me that there's a statistic there where what are females attracted to the most, right? And there was some different attraction points to when it comes to somebody who brings value, right? Like, they have monetary value, they can protect, they can give security, they're masculine, they can lead, they're very confident with themselves, they can give the best life possible, things like that. And I think loyalty, that might be something for us to talk about. Loyalty wasn't the most important thing when it came to a female's attraction. How wild is that? That's incredibly wild. But because the thing is that when and Tang, I can ask you this, right? And again, thank you again for the conversations and such. And just like the example I gave, remember that with the guy A and guy B? Women are hypergamous by nature. You're going to go for the man who's going to give you the best value. And to me, when a woman comes up to me and says, well, I like a guy who's nice, who plays video games, who watches Sex and the City, who likes anime, things like that, those are things that come after the fact, that attraction points. It's crazy, I know, it's totally crazy, I know it. But I think the study was also done on younger women as well. I think between the ages of 18 and 30, somewhere around there. So that's one thing to consider a variable. But if we're talking about, but this correlates to what we're saying, right? This correlates to how I'm saying that men universally are attracted to younger women. This study has I wouldn't say a correlation, but it kind of connects with it to a certain degree, because if we're gonna go and women, and the younger women, of course, in this day and age, for the most part, they want a guy who's gonna give them as much as they possibly can. You know what I mean? Oftentimes, and this is good, I'm gonna give you a hot take here. Feel free to definitely say something about this one. I wouldn't say it's, maybe it is the norm, who knows? I need to do more research on this one, to be honest with you, or maybe, we'll see. There are definitely studies out there, of course, where there's even surveys where there are women who, when they get married, they have backup partners.
Oh, they always do.
50% of them.
No, they're lying. They all do.
Yeah, those studies are probably underreported as well, and that's the thing. Like because the thing is that women.
Lower the disc a little bit. There we go.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So it's what was I just saying? You told me about this one with the mic, and I was talking about the backup. Yeah. So you know, we're talking about loyalty here. It's kind of interesting because when there are statistics and surveys out there that say, okay, how many married women, have backup partners? A majority of them do. That's insanity to me. Like, and when a woman comes up to me, and this isn't on you, okay, saying these are great questions and this is good conversation again, but it's kind of funny that when we're talking about loyalty and things like that, you have to also understand too that when we're talking about divorce rates, 50% of our marriages in the worldwide, and 50 to 56% in divorces. That's a lot. It wasn't like that before. And of course, we can talk about the proponents to that as to why that is. But let that sink in for a moment. 50 to 56% of divorces end in divorce. And I think the top 3 reasons, to my knowledge, is a lack of commitment, infidelity, and lack of funds. Like the money isn't there, and it's just that's how it is for that. And 80% of the divorces from the 50% that happens when it comes to ending marriages is women. Women are the ones ending the marriages. 90% as well if they're college educated. So when it comes to loyalty and such, and we just named, I think, 4 different factors how loyalty isn't really a thing for. I would say a majority of women, not all, of course, but a majority, especially when we're talking about women who don't have father figures and they don't understand moral values, or maybe something did happen to them where they had like a traumatic past, things like that. They weren't taught how to be loyal, or even men, same thing. Like men, they don't have father figures, so they go around doing crazy stuff. They don't know how to build value. And what I will say this as well, men are just as loyal. This is going to be another hot take for you guys.
Oh boy.
Men are just as loyal. Men are as loyal as the options they have. I think it's a little crazy when women expect monogamy from a man. And humans by nature, first of all, we're not monogamous. We're monogam-ish, but we're not monogamous. The moment we find a guy or a woman and then we break up with them, that's the end of monogamy. But in general, we're just not. So you might find that one person who's the exception to the rule, but that doesn't destroy the norm. It doesn't disqualify that we're just not monogamous, period, because of this wide population that's like that. So that's one thing. Ask me a question. I don't want you to be confused on everything and such, but definitely the father figure plays a big role in there and such. But the monogamy, that's definitely something there. So what I need men to understand too is when you're going on the dates, and we're kind of rewinding back until we get another question around here, right? Is again, you have to vet, okay? And this is going back to Tang's, I think, first question. Let's see here. History shows men have more wives than wives have husbands. Oh yeah. Well, you see, here's the thing. When we're showing history and such.
Well, it's hard to get married again once you're divorced as a woman. Like you're less valuable.
Yeah, it's harder. It's definitely in today's day and age. It's a lot harder.
Nobody wants a woman who's been married twice.
That's the thing. And then when we're talking about our history and such, again, like if we're looking way back when we had churches as a buffer, okay, We had churches that were, they were very, very on point when it came to really busting people when it comes to disloyalty and not having loyalty in the marriages and things like that. Like, we had church as a buffer. We also had a good system where we didn't have social media, okay? We didn't have social media like that. When we take out the demographics, okay, and when we have Florida, New York, and we have small towns in like third world countries and things like that, women and men, they're subdued to those small population numbers. So there aren't too many men as how much they would have access to when they have social media and such, right?
More emotional.
And yeah, absolutely. And so when you have a small population like that, it's very hard. Like, if you commit to a man who you really like, it's really hard to, have trouble when it comes to marriages and stuff like that. But as you were saying, man has more wives than husbands. But here's the thing. To answer this part right here, Tang, I like that you brought that up, okay? I know I kind of just went off with this one, but here's an important factor. And let's talk a little bit about history, since we're talking about that, right? There is no woman in history, and as someone might mention Cleopatra, but no, even she didn't do it. There is no woman in history who had what's that term called? It's not haram. It's where they had oh my goodness, it's a name where they have like a plethora of women and things like that, and a plethora of men, right? You know what I'm talking? It starts with an H. It's not haram. I was about to say haram, but it's not haram.
Wait, say it again.
It's when men, like emperors and kings and pharaohs.
I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of the word. They have like the side chicks, basically.
Well, they had concubines. They had concubines, but that's not. Yes, but it's in turn with what I was trying to think of.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, basically, so they had basically their pool of women. So there's no history when women had. Yeah, so there was never a point in time where even Cleopatra, there wasn't like this queens or women who had this plethora of men who they were marrying and things like that. Like, women can't really do that, honestly. Like, they can try to do it, but when women do things like that, they know what they're doing is not within their biological hardwiring. They can't do it. They can try to do it, but when they do that type of stuff, like sleeping around with a bunch of guys and try to get married and have multiple husbands and things like that, they can't do it. They just can't. They feel disgusted. They feel like their value just went out the door because they're losing their purity and things like that. Like how Tang was saying, the emotional baggage kind of carries in, okay? But I'm kind of just talking about that and such. A haram. There was a haram, I think that's what it was called.
You just said haram.
I said haram, but is it haram? A harem of women. Okay. A harem, that's what it's called.
Right.
Men in history, kings, emperors, pharaohs, had, I forgot the word already, oh my goodness.
Haram.
A harem of women. Okay. They've always had that because they're high status, they're kings, they're going to have women around them so they can spread seed. We have to understand that that's what men are biologically hardwired to do. We're meant to conquer, we're meant to procreate, we're meant to spread our seed around. So to answer what Tang was talking about, yeah, like, that's a historical thing because that's inherently what men are meant to do. We've been born to do that since the very get-go, since nomadic time, since the get-go. Our job is to procreate and spread our seed. That's to build society. That's how we're building society, like that. But it isn't like that nowadays. It's not like that because now birth rates have gone down, fertility has gone down thanks to birth control. Then all that came out in second wave of feminism. All that came out. But again, in history, no woman has had a harem of husbands. Never. That's never been a thing. It has never been a thing because it's not something women want to do. It's really not.
It's not under,
It's not under hardwiring. So like, if a woman has sex with a guy, okay, and let's just say maybe she was drunk, or maybe she was getting emotional, like she was partying, dancing, and she meets this one guy and then the emotions were there, right? But she was feeling good. She was feeling so good with the guy. The guy just said a bunch of things and just checked off all her boxes right then and there, right? And then they just happened to sleep together and such. But then the guy just leaves immediately the next day. Doesn't even say bye, doesn't even take her out somewhere, doesn't even like make her breakfast or just something like that, you know, just leaves or even kicks her out of the house. Kicks her out of the house. When that happens, and this happens very often, that's where a lot of emotional trauma and baggage comes in for women, because they know that deep down they made a mistake. Deep down, they just gave up their purity. They gave up their purity to a man who they truly inherently didn't like. They were just caught in the moment. They were caught in the moment. The guy just said all the right things. They didn't use discernment, basically, to make a judgment call on what they're going to be doing. That is the woman's fault. So now she's carrying this baggage, and now this man who basically she just gave sex for free is now going around, you know, heel tapping himself like, woo, yeah, I just got me a free one here. He's going around bragging to his friends and to other girls, probably your friends, to the woman, your girlfriends, I just slept with this girl and it cost me literally nothing, right? Women, ladies, stop doing that, okay? You have to stop doing that at all times, okay? It's not worth it because, again, like, if a woman, especially when it comes to prostitution is like one of the oldest professions, one of the oldest professions in the world, okay? This has been a thing for a very long time. When a woman is going around, whether it's OnlyFans or selling pictures of herself naked or posting pictures, degrading herself, things like that, a lot of them will say, oh, I'm liberated, I'm happy, I get to do whatever I want, okay? And then they act like they're so proud of it. Do you know how many women are on antidepressants when they go into sex work? That goes to the same thing what I was talking about with women who are in depression, 71% nowadays. And the sex work is part of it. It's not entirely, it's not the thing that decides everything, but that's what it is. That's basically what's going on. Like, when women do these things, it's not normal for them. It's just not, okay? So when they're going out in public, selling themselves, you don't know what goes on in the back. You don't know how much PTSD they're going through. You don't know how much depression they're going through, how disgusting they feel after they sell themselves to a guy or an escort. They're escorting themselves and the guy's touching them and having intimacy with them, and then they go on so many antidepressants to the point where they probably, commit suicide and things like that. So you gotta understand that that's not a natural thing for women. And again, I know people are gonna say, oh, but why are women into sex work and OnlyFans and things like that? That's fine, but the point I'm trying to make is that you think they're happy doing that, they're really not. They're really not. It's more of a cope, and it's more of a venting mechanism, but it's also deflecting, okay? So definitely understand that it's not something they do. Catching up on here in the chat, so concubines. Yeah, concubines, basically, it's just, they're multiple women. Like, if I have a woman, and then I have 3 other women, and I have eunuchs, I have like eunuchs guarding the concubines. Those concubines, those women are there so I can procreate with, so I can have more children with. So I have my queen, whatever, and this is just an example. I'm not advocating this, okay? It's, the king has sex with his main woman, he procreates, and then decides to procreate with the concubines. That's all it is. So to answer your question, Lawrence, that's basically what it is. In those ancient times and such, right? And does it still happen nowadays? Yeah, I would say so, here and there with some other countries and such. Catching up with Tang, and thank you, Dr. Cervantes. That's Chris. Good advice. Let's see. They lack boundaries, but men pushes women's boundaries. But men should also stop pushing women's boundaries as well. Well, you see, here's the thing. As we talked about before, I think Lawrence mentioned this. Okay, thank you again for this one. We have to hold ourselves responsible for our powers. Again, men are the gatekeepers to relationships. Women are the gatekeepers to sex. So I don't buy into this whole thing where, men have to know their boundaries and women have to know their boundaries. You know your boundaries when you enforce them. If there's no enforcing, think of it this way, right? If we have a government system where we have laws, we have amendments, we have government enforcement, and we have judges who make decisions on what goes on in the world, right? Or in a state, we have state laws and federal laws, right? If a judge makes a call on something, right, and tells this one guy who robbed a few banks, whatever, or yeah, he robbed a few banks, and the judge says, okay, you are on house arrest, you cannot come out of the house, you can't do this and that, don't go to this mall, you're on a restraining order, like whatever the judge decides, okay? There's an enforcement arm that goes with that, okay? So if this guy decides to go out of his limit, his range for let's talk about the ecclesia. Yeah, well, we'll definitely talk about that for sure. I'm gonna get to that in just a moment there. So when you're getting out of range for your house arrest and nobody is stopping that guy from getting out of range, that is the quintessential equivocal to a woman who doesn't enforce her boundaries and a man who doesn't enforce their boundaries. There has to be enforcement. I don't buy this whole nonsense where it's like, oh, well, he pressured me. Oh, I didn't want to say no. I said, no, okay? You are in full control of what goes on with your body, who gets access to sex. There is absolutely no excuse for you just feeling pressured, for you doing something that you are in full autonomy about. So if a guy comes up to you, I mean, if a guy is pushing sex, what do you think that is? That's rape. I'm sorry, I don't think I can even say that. The R word, grape, okay? It's grape, all right? We got grape. I don't like the fruit grape, but let's just use that, okay? So that's what it is. Like, we are in full autonomy about that, okay? And men are the same thing. So let's talk about this one right here. Let's talk about the ecclesiastical aspects. The foundation of Christianity is love and forgiveness. What is your take on forgiving a woman's past when it comes to poor decisions on sexual partners? I'm glad you asked that question. So I'm reading the Bible right now. I just finished the book of John. Okay, a great book. You know, there was a part where a woman was, committing promiscuous acts and Jesus was making a judgment on her and basically called the enforcement law hypocrites if they were to stone her to death, right? I thought that was very interesting. But kind of feeding off that, to answer your question directly, what do I think about a woman's past? What I mentioned before, okay, I'm gonna give you the somewhat secular answer, and I'm going to give you somewhat of a biblical answer, okay? Let me try to answer this, but I wanna be fair about this, okay? When it comes to, you know, theology and when you go to a church and when you're giving into a religion or Christianity or you want to baptize yourself to give yourself to Jesus and things like that, I do believe people could be saved, okay? And they could become better people. Fine. That's one thing though, okay? But to answer that part where it comes to forgiving a woman's past, that's a totally different thing, okay? If she's going around sleeping with a bunch of guys and she was in full control of it, you have to understand that men have a natural proclivity to be very disgusted by women who are promiscuous. That is a survival instinct at its finest right there. Just like if a woman hears a man is poor, has no job, doesn't even want to go out and build in the world, you get this knee-jerk reaction like, whoa, I'm not even going to give this guy the time of day. It's the same exact thing. So I think when we shouldn't be shaming people for their wants and their standards. That's number one. Even though we do see some standards where they're a little ridiculous, but at the end of the day, men have to understand how to use hypergamy to their advantage, and women have to understand how to keep their value, okay? And again, this is just a general, okay? Not everybody. But there's no way I can forgive a woman, to answer your question. If a woman, let's say she comes up to me and she's fit, in shape like I am, she supports my mission to a certain degree, I guess. She's not argumentative, but the moment I find out she has a tainted past, like you've got some skeletons in your closet, and that's not good for me, because that tells me that paternity is not really assured for me. And on top of that, let's talk a little bit more about a woman's past. There are studies right now regarding pair bonding, okay, with women and men. And the pair bonding ability right now is, I forget who is this from and such, but you can definitely look it up. There's a study now, and we'll have some next time and such. Maybe we'll pull it up for everyone to kind of link at it and look at whenever they have on their free time. A woman's pair bonding ability, meaning her ability to be happy in a relationship long term, to be happy and satisfied, is at 93% when she is a virgin and goes on with her first choice. Let's call it is the first choice, okay? The first choice of her man. The guy has potential, or maybe he's already high value from the get-go, and the man makes her feel feminine, makes her feel safe, secure, provides security, gives children, all that stuff. There is a 93% chance that woman will stay in that marriage and stay happy, because oxytocin levels, serotonin levels, they're at their best and their most profound with the first one, the first guy she's intimate with, okay? Yeah. Now, if she goes on to guy number 2 and 3, it drastically drops from 93, 93 to around 56%. How do you go from 93 to 50-something percent, 56, somewhere around there, off 2 other mates? And then the research keeps going a little bit where past 6, going on to 10, it's like 35% that the woman will stay happy in her relationship, current relationship, or marriage. That's not great. If I hear something like that and men are becoming more knowledgeable about this stuff, you best believe they're going to make discrete choices about how they move in the sexual marketplace. They're going to do that. So if they see a hot woman, some woman who they think is attractive, but the moment they find out, and we could find out how to vet women through that, of course, but the moment the man finds out or has a suspicion that the woman is, she has a past, a very, very promiscuous past, it's an immediate disqualification. There's no argument, no question about it. And that's why. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you for that, Veronica. I hope I answered your question on that one. The biblical side, yes, there is forgiveness on that one. The person can be better, but you have to understand that men, we have a proclivity to not want to be with women with a bad past, okay? Just like how women don't want to be with men who don't have futures, it is the same for us, just with a difference. We judge women by their past, women judge men by their futures. It's always been that way, always, since literally the beginning of time. Even if you look at evolutionary psychology, even if you look at that, if you look at the survival of the fittest, there's even studies done on monkeys, right? Where you have 2 monkeys and they have a female monkey come into like a cage or somewhere around there, or like this area where they're being domesticated somewhere around there, right? Or a zoo. There's a study where they'll put 2 male monkeys, one of them who's just by himself and another one who is surrounded by other female monkeys, right? The female monkey always goes to where the other females are and doesn't go mingle around with the other females. She goes straight to the male and tries to see what's going on there. That is a sense of security for her. That's in today's day and age, what that's called is social proof. That's what it's called. Women need social proof from men to ensure that man, or I guess their options, is their best option. They have to assume that. They have to go for their best option. Women don't want to settle. I said this earlier. When women, one of women's worst fears is settling for a guy who they don't want. That is an objective fact. There is no way. It's not going to convince me. Like, if you see how women are, they're always going to go for their best option no matter what. But they settle for guys who they don't really want, but the guys like them back because they have to. It's not that they want to. It's because they have to. So when they're older and not as fertile, and they've been ran through by a bunch of guys, and they're not even religious, and they have no moral code, no values, they're argumentative, they're masculine, they kind of just have to pick whoever comes next and likes them. That's how it is. It's just the way it is. And there are women like that. There are definitely women, not all of them, of course, but the point here with that is the younger a woman is, and the more value she has, meaning she's not sleeping around and maybe has no partners, and maybe one partner at best, I would say, she has a higher likelihood of getting a high value man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do this last question here, and then we'll wrap it up from there. Okay,
let's ask this question. Okay, so women who's had boundaries compromised as a young child, grape, okay, it's called a grape, essay, okay, I know what that is, will not have the capacity in them to set hard boundaries. So should their boundaries be violated because they lack the capacity? Well, you see, those are scenarios in which you'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised. SA and grape, believe it or not, it's not as common as you think it is. It's really not. So when we're throwing variables like that, I get your point on that, and I do want to answer it. I will answer it. When we're throwing variables like that, it's, where we're creating certain scenarios which can still be feasible and can still be reasonable to explain. But even so, women are still in their full autonomy. Like, you see, when men go through hardships, here's what happens. Here's one of the differences between men and women most of the time. When men go through hardships, two things happen. One of two things happen. One is we either deal with it and grow, right? We deal and grow with it. That's usually like the common thing that men do. The second thing is, if men can't really handle stresses, can't really handle that, they either kill themselves. It's just one of two things right there. You know what I mean? So let's see here. It's very common. That's why people work it out in therapy. Yeah, but you see,
It's not common.
it's not common. It's definitely not common. Like, and here's why I say it's not common. Here's an argument I have to why it's not as common as you probably might think it is. Okay, like when you hear stories, what some women like to do, okay, not everybody, right? But what some women like to do is, when they're in bad situations with men, emotional abuse, that's not a thing. That's something that feminists decided to make up. There's no emotional abuse. I'm just gonna say that's a hill I'm gonna die on. There's no emotional abuse. It's something that feminists made up. Like, abuse was just abuse. Hitting, slapping, punching, all that stuff. Like, that's abuse. That is abuse at its core. But now when women can claim abuse for whatever reason, where it's emotional and oh, he didn't give me enough attention because he was busy, like when you claim all those things, it's very exaggerated, very, very exaggerated. And what some women tend to do is that they like to claim that they were SA'd or raped. You'd be surprised they're lying sometimes, and it's not even true. And why I say that is because if you were there, if I was there and I actually saw what was happening, or it was reported, it was on the news, and there was like a video footage of that actually happening, then it's like, okay, it happened. But you'd be surprised, a lot of people who say that this happened to them, it didn't happen. They probably just went out with the guy, they didn't like the intimacy, they didn't like sex, they didn't like the company, and then they vent. They say, oh my God, I didn't. In their mind, they internalize and say, well, I didn't like the intimacy I got with the guy. I didn't like the intimacy I got with the guy, so I'm just gonna say in some of their minds, I'm just gonna say SA or grape. I'm gonna make him look bad because he kind of dumped me on the side because I gave him what he wanted. He didn't give me what I wanted. That's common. That is common when women start to they don't want to own up to their choices. They don't want to own up and take accountability for what goes on. That's common. But that's not to say that the SA and grape doesn't happen at all. It does happen, absolutely. But it doesn't happen as much as you think it does. That's kind of the thing.
All right, let's go to this one here. Veronica said something, extreme example. A woman, I don't have a mic. So.
Let me see, extreme example here. Thank you, Veronica, for the question here. And Tang, great questions, great conversation. Definitely keep them coming out. I love talking to you. Veronica, let me see what you got here. Extreme example, a woman was sex trafficked at a young age. This happens, yes it does, absolutely. Now she's able to break free of that. Is she not entitled to a fresh start, or is her past held against her? See, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? We were.
Depends on the person, man. It really does.
I'm sorry, what?
It depends if she's damaged by it, or if she can just move on past it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if we know for sure that an extreme case like that happened, what's happened has happened. Like if a girl comes up to me and something like that happened, I am gonna have some sympathy for that, and of course I'm gonna comfort her and things like that. And I will give her that chance. Absolutely. I think women who have legitimately, truthfully went through situations like that and they're not lying about it, yes, that's a different story. But if we're just making stuff up and then we're trying to victimize ourselves with certain scenarios, that's not okay. That's not okay. And that's a serious thing. That's a serious thing. I think when people lie about very serious cases, you need to shame them for that. Because SA is a very serious thing. Grape is a serious thing. if you're lying about that just to get attention or just to play the victim card and make another person look bad because of your poor choices, that's unacceptable. I will shame that to the T. To the T if I find out that a person's lying about that. I will. You bet I will. Oh, you bet I will. But no, yes, and in truth be told and such, yeah, so if we see, if that was the case and such, yeah, I'll give the person a chance. But here's the thing also, and just to add on to what you were saying about, to give them a chance. You give them, I will give them a chance, absolutely, and I'll see what they're all about and such. But the thing also, what you have to understand, when people go through experiences like that, they're very traumatized. Not all of them, but some of them can go past it, some of them can't. Some of them are very traumatized, and that's baggage. And it's not her fault, but that's still gonna be baggage because she might have abandonment issues, she might have trust issues, and a man can only go so far to deal with that. A man can only go so far. Like if I really like a girl, but if it's constant trust issues or she's blaming me for certain things, like past things happen and we do take therapy and things like that and it's still going, I have to make a decision on my end as a man and say, look, I'm sorry that this happened, but I can't do this. I can't. Like it's too much. It's just too much. Like, man, you have to understand who you're gonna invest your time in as well. And same thing for women. You gotta know how to invest your time. So that's definitely something I wanted to add on to that. But great question, great stuff. Let me keep on going here and such. Let me see. There's always a batch of lies in the midst of the truth, but do you throw away the truth because of a few bad liars? Well, see, here's the thing, like, you're not gonna know what the truth is. As men, we have to investigate. We have to take the time to kind of see who this person is, and we judge people based on how they behave, how they move. I'm not gonna judge a person by what they say and what they think, okay? Because if someone can tell me, well, I don't like clubbing at all, but then I see her on Instagram and then her friends tell me and then she's calling me and I video chat her, she's at a club dancing with people. What am I gonna go with? What she said or what she does?
Your stories, the reels.
Yeah, the stories, the reels. I'm gonna go by what they do, not by what they say. So we have to be able to investigate and vet. It goes back to vetting, right? It goes back to the vetting process always on, you gotta understand how to vet a person, and then from there you gotta make a decision on what you're gonna do. Because yes, people have certain things that they've gone through and things, but you have to make a decision on how much of that you're willing to deal with, both men and women, okay? Let me see here. So I hope that answers the question, Tang, on that one.
Really fast and then wrap it up, man.
Yeah, let me see. Those are big statements to say without some type of research to back yourself with. Who is that directed to, me, or is that directed to Tang or somebody else?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, Lawrence, you can message me on that one and such. Agreed, Lawrence. Yeah. So let me know who's on that one. That's the ultimate example of compassion that Jesus did for the woman. For the woman, who was caught in adultery. He forgave her and commanded her not to do it again. Okay, he released her from her past, and yeah, absolutely, and I agree with that. That's the part from the book of John as well. But again, talking theological stuff, that's great, but let's talk about something that's practical. Let's talk about the what is, not the what should be. The what is right now, like what's happening right now. What's happening right now is the moment a man hears that a woman has a bad past, the decision is made right there. He's not going to give her a chance. That's just the reality. That's just the objective fact. If a woman sees that the man has nothing going for him, she's not going to think to herself, okay, this is how it should be. No, she's going to think about the what is and make a decision right then and there. You know what I mean? So I get the whole ecclesiastical thing because I'm trying to get into religion. I am, believe it or not. I want to study it more. I want to understand Christianity and the Bible and and Muslim Christianity, things like that. I do want to understand all that, definitely, absolutely, because it helps out when we're dealing with people who are going through situations like that. It really does. But all in all, again, when we're talking about pragmatics and how people are going to react, they're not gonna think about that. They're not gonna say, oh, well, she went to the church. Well, this is what most people will think, and we're more in a secular society, believe it or not. If you go in, if a woman says, oh, I want to be cleared, and she becomes this born-again virgin, let's say, because there are born-again virgins, that's going to sound pretty silly to a lot of men. A lot of men. So she's been ran through by, let's say, 40 guys off her autonomy, off her choice, and it says, hey, I'm a born again virgin. Like, men aren't going to buy into that. They're just not.
All right, man.
But that's pretty much it, guys. Again, great discussions. I definitely want to be doing this Tuesdays and Thursdays, but definitely join us on the Rumble, on YouTube and such. I like having these discussions and such. Let's definitely talk more about practicalities. We can talk more on ecclesiasticals and churches and Bibles and research articles and things like that. That's definitely the point of it. And next time we'll talk a little bit more on how we're going to problem solve, and maybe a little bit more on red flags. And we're gonna get some guests in as well. Okay.
We're having a guest next week, huh? Or Thursday?
Yeah, we'll try to get some guests in and such like that. So we'll kind of see where we go from there. And so we have some guests lined up, guys. I definitely want to see if we can get some high value guys in here and such, so that way you can kind of hear through their lens. And then I want to get some business owners in here, and maybe some people who are biblical as well. So that's kind of the whole point. We want to get different personalities and different ideas and such. So much love, guys. Thank you again. Really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to discuss with us, even debate a little bit on what goes on and how we can get through problematics. And let's just work together on this. Just remember that the purpose of this podcast is just to help you guys navigate through the dating scene, okay? There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of things we can do, but let's be realistic. That's best. I'm going to end on that. Let's just be realistic about what we can do and what we cannot do. All right? So signing off.